Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm here to answer all of your questions. I've actually never filmed like a sit down Q&A. I've done various Q&As either in the comment section or in a YouTube live or on Instagram, but I've never asked for questions in advance and then sat down and filmed it. But I do get a lot of similar questions all the time, so I thought it would be fun to let you tell me what questions you want to know the answer to and then just sit down and answer them all. So on my last weekly vlog, I opened it up and said, please let me know in those comments what questions you want to know the answer to. And honestly, you had a lot of questions. I also had plans to go post on Instagram and ask Instagram for questions as well, but there were so many different questions. I think this video is gonna be plenty long just answering those. So if you guys like this type of video, maybe I will open it up to Instagram questions in the future and do like an Instagram Q&A. But for this one, this is strictly questions that were asked in the comment section of my last weekly vlog. So I've got my cat person mug and some coffee. I'm filming this in the morning. And so I've got my coffee, although it's still really hot, so I can't really enjoy it yet. I also feel like when I get a drink for videos, like chat videos, I'm so busy chatting that I never actually drink the drink. By the time we get to the end, it's like super cold, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be the perfect temperature by the end. So as much as I wanted to just go through the questions and answer them in whatever order they were posted, that's not me. I put them into different categories. So I organized all the questions that you had, and we basically came out with sort of 8 categories. So we have planner questions, goals related questions, YouTube, New York City / work. I'm kind of combining them together because a lot of the work questions also have to do with New York City. They all kind of, they get lumped together. That was probably the biggest category. There's a lot of questions there. Sam related, Jenny Craig related, hair related. I think it's because I've dyed my hair in that vlog, so there were a lot of questions about my hair. And then the last category is just random. It's gonna be a catch-all for all of the other questions that didn't fit into one of the earlier categories. So let's jump right in. Let's start with the planner related questions. The first one, what are your favorite pens that you use to write in your planner? And I feel like I'm pretty consistent on my pen choices. If you watch my Plan With Me's, you know this. I do have my Amazon store linked in every description box, and all of my favorite pens are linked in my Amazon shop. My favorite pens to actually write on the paper in the planner is either a Pilot G207, or my new favorite is the Tool pens, T-U-L, from Office Depot. If I'm writing on a vinyl sticker, I love the Micro Perm 03. Favorite planner items that you love? Do we have hours? I love a lot of things. I do try and include planner items in every monthly favorites video, so you can always go back and watch those if you want to see my favorite planner items. I mean, if I had to pick like the top things that jump out in my head, obviously my Erin Condren Life Planner, that is my planner. My Erin Condren Folio that I carry my life planner in. My sticker collection, I have a lot of Chrissy Ann Designs, Design Pandemonium, Oh Hello Stationery. My silhouette machine that I used to cut and make my own stickers. I wouldn't survive without that thing. I'm probably forgetting something huge that is a planner item that I love. I don't know if it counts as a planner item, but my power sheets, I love my power sheets. Oh, my favorite pen for my power sheets is the Papermate Flare. I love Papermate Flares, and I use them a lot for list making, and then for my power sheets, I don't use them as much in my planner just because they are really thick. Who are your favorite planner friends to follow, watch on YouTube and Instagram? For YouTube, I did a top 10 favorite YouTube channels that I love to watch video, and some of those were planner channels, not all of them, but my top planner channels definitely fell into that category. To be honest, I don't watch as many planner channels on YouTube with the exception of the ones that I listed in that video. On Instagram, I mean, I follow a lot of planner channels. My recommendation for Instagram would actually just to go, you can see who I follow. You can go to my Instagram and look at who I follow, and that should hopefully give you some inspiration. If you could pick the next city for Go Wild, what would you pick? I put this in the planner category because it's Go Wild related. So I do think a lot of people try and push for like their hometown. I definitely don't want Go Wild to be here in New York. I think New York is too expensive. I think New York is more of a place that you go visit on vacation, not that you go to for a conference. So I definitely, I don't vote for New York. I think I would love it to be in the Northeast, somewhere that I could get on a train or in a car. But the truth is I don't have a car, so I would still have to rent one. I just think it would be easier to pack if I was on a train or in a car, as opposed to I've always had to fly to Go Wild, and that packing is such a pain when you're trying to fly and all that swag. I was really excited about DC. I think I would love to Go Wild in DC. Honestly, I'll go wherever it is. And I have loved that a lot of the cities I hadn't been to a lot, with the exception of the one I went to college in, but in New Orleans and Nashville, I'd never been to those cities, so it was a new city for me, which was really exciting. And Vegas, I'd only been to like twice in my whole life, so I liked that I got to, it almost forced me to go to a new city. So honestly, I don't really care. Okay, we gotta keep moving or it's gonna be a long video. All right, the next category is goals related questions. So the first one is, how do you stay motivated and focused on working on your goals? What would be the number one piece of advice you'd give others for staying focused on their goals? And then someone else asked, what keeps you motivated on a day-to-day basis? I think the piece of this that I'm really gonna pick out is what advice I would give to others focusing on their goals. And this is also what helps me stay motivated. I think focusing on the little baby steps. When we set goals, we set these huge, massive, giant goals. Like, I wanna lose 100 pounds, or I wanna declutter my entire house. And that's great. It is great to have a vision and have big picture goals. But when it comes to actually feeling accomplished and staying motivated, I need baby steps. I need little tiny things that I can then check off and feel really accomplished, even though all I did was read 10 pages out of a book, or even though all I did was eat a vegetable. It's still progress on my overarching goals, and I still get credit for it, and I think that's what keeps me motivated. And your goals are always gonna be changing and growing, and so trying to find the happiness and the accomplishment in the little things, I think really helps me keep going. All right, the next one is who and what inspires you. I think, like I already said, I think being able to do little baby steps and checking those things off really inspires me to keep going. In terms of who inspires me, I feel like that's such a crazy question. I'm a lot of people, all the YouTubers that I listed in my top 10 YouTube videos, those people inspire me. Sam inspires me. He works so hard at his job, but he loves it, and he loves the value that he's bringing to people, and I try to keep that same mindset when I am chatting with you. And what value am I bringing you? What are you getting out of spending time with me? And I think he keeps that mindset when he's working, and that is always incredibly inspiring. My parents are both incredibly inspiring, and the lives that they've created for themselves they're so different. I mean, my dad's just a little bit further behind. You know, he's got 3 younger kids at home, but the life that he's created with my stepmom. And my mom is like almost the opposite. She's basically an empty nester. She lives in downtown Chicago, and she like walks to the bars, and like she's loving her life as well. And I admire both of them so much, and they both have worked so hard in their lives, and they both have had some crazy ups and downs over the course of their lives, but to see them both like really happy and where they're at in their lives is always so inspiring. What is your proudest goal accomplishment so far this year? I would have to say that I have read 13 books. It is June 19th. And I have read 13 books. I probably didn't read 13 books the entire time I've lived in New York City combined. That to me is just something that I'm so proud of, that I found a way to reincorporate reading into my life and read 13 books. Have you ever thought about vision boarding? No. I mean, of course I've thought about it, because it always ends up being like a page in a planner, or, you know, you see the people that cut out from the magazines that always look so cool. The truth is, there's 2 things about it that don't like make me immediately want to drop and do it. The first one is I can't check anything off. I mean, I guess I could go make big check marks on it, but it's about looking at it and admiring it. It's not as much about writing over it, and like I like to write things down. The second one is, this is gonna sound really weird, they always look so cluttered to me. Maybe there's a way to make one that looks neat and organized, but every time I see one, I'm like, oh, that looks so cluttered. I wouldn't want to have that up in my house. Do you know your Enneagram? I'm gonna say that wrong number. How about Myers-Briggs? So I don't know what my Enneagram, I'm not sure how to say that. I took like a really quick test during Go Wild, because Nina and Kaden were like, you need to know what it is. And I don't even remember what the answer was. And it wasn't like the full-blown real test. It was like some online quick one. So I don't really know much about that. My Myers-Briggs, I am very borderline between 2. I am ESTJ and ESFJ. So ES and J, I am like hardcore the one way. I am hardcore an extrovert. I am hardcore sensing. I don't do gut instinct at all. And I'm a hardcore judging. I feel like that's a planner girl thing. I also hate that word, because judging has such a negative connotation. But in terms of Myers-Briggs, it does not. But TJ, the thinking feeling, it depends on the day. It depends on the year I take it, depends on the day I take it. Sometimes I'm T and sometimes I'm J. I am very much a thinking person. I like facts, I like numbers, but I also really like people are a big part of it for me as well. For example, like when it comes to YouTube, some days I am really motivated by watching the subscriber count grow, which is a stupid vanity metric that doesn't even matter. But then other days I am really motivated and inspired by like the sweet comments and like the one person that was impacted by that video. All right, the next questions are about YouTube. So the first one is, how do you make your YouTube schedule? How do you know when to film, when to edit, how long it's gonna take you, how many videos to film in a week, etc.? do you set out a specific time of week to answer questions or reply to comments? So the person that asked this, I assume you are also considering starting a YouTube channel. So I'm gonna take it from the mindset of like a new person. So the biggest thing on YouTube is being consistent and uploading the same time, the same days consistently. So whatever it is that you can commit to, and start small. Start with 1 video a week. It may be even less than that. If you have an incredibly busy schedule, maybe that's not even realistic. Maybe it's every other week or once a month. But start with something small and commit to that. Once you figure that out and you're consistent with that, then add more to it. As far as knowing when to film and how long it's gonna take you, that you just learn over time. When I first started, I did not have any guess on how long it was gonna take me to film or edit or upload or any of that. That is just something that you learn as you go through it. And it's different for every person too. Like, some people are probably much better than me about like the amount of filming time takes less because they don't ramble and mess up. And I very much like my footage is a lot longer than the final version. So it takes me a lot longer to film. Editing, I have improved a lot. When I first started, it took me forever to edit videos, and now it takes a lot less time. And then you also have to figure out how it works for you in terms of the lead time. So there are times that I am filming and editing the night before a video goes up, and I don't like to live in that world. I would rather have it done days in advance, and it feels better. I'm still always working on videos, but it's not something that has to be done the next day. It's something that has to be done in a week or a couple of days from now. The exception of that is Plan With Me's, because I can't film those that far in advance. I usually film Plan With Me's on Sundays, edit them on Monday nights, and then they go up on Wednesdays. That's my like typical Plan With Me schedule. And then the other ones, it just kind of varies. The biggest tip I can give you here, which you're gonna hear from any YouTube, how to YouTube channel, is batch film and film more than 1 video at one time. So if you're taking the effort to bring out the lights, to set up the filming stand, to get everything ready to go, to get in that filming mindset, do more than 1 video. Do I always do that? No. I'm not filming another video right now. I'm filming this one and then I'm going to work. But on the weekends, if I am setting everything up, you could best believe I'm filming more than 1 video. I don't set a specific time to answer questions and comments. I should. I probably should. I love responding to comments, and so I check my comments like multiple times a day and respond multiple times a day. That's probably not how I should operate, but that's how I operate. I do set aside time for emails though. Are you willing to take requests for trying stuff out? I would love to see someone do tea reviews. So it's funny because one of the companies you mentioned in that comment, they actually did reach out to me and offer. I struggle with accepting things to review that doesn't obviously fit into my wheelhouse. Now, I love tea. So, I mean, although this morning I love coffee. This one's hard because I do, as much as I want to accept things so that I can review them and provide you feedback, I also don't want to just be a product review channel. And it comes in spurts. Like if I do a subscription box, and a lot of the subscription boxes I do, if I do a set video, it's something that I purchase with my own money, or I know and trust the brand. And then I'll get like 3 or 4 emails the next day of like subscription boxes. One time I got one that was like a mom subscription box. And I was like, I'm not a mom. Like I can't provide my review on that. I try to either review things that are from companies that I've already trusted and I want to review their new products for you because I've liked their old products in the past, or something that really makes sense for the goals of my channel and of my message. I like this one. If you had to film about a different subject other than planning, what would it be? Can cats be an answer? Sam's always like, you should start a YouTube channel for Charlie. That's ridiculous. I don't know that I feel like I have enough expertise on any other subject that I could talk about it. Maybe books. Maybe if I would like focus like way more time on reading and then do book reviews and book stacks and book hauls and all about books. Okay, so the next category is I actually combined New York City, work, and Sam because all the questions kind of fit in together. I'm kind of weaving them in together from like a timeline perspective. So the first one, I had a bunch of questions about, tell us about your life before New York City. Where were you raised? What brought you there? Did you already work at your company? What brought you to New York? And my location biography. So I was born in San Antonio, Texas. Born and raised, I guess, depending on what your definition of raised. I actually lived outside of San Antonio in the northwest suburbs in a little town called Helotes. That was where I lived and went to school. I did also spend half the week at my dad's house, and he did not live in Helotes. He actually lived over by my dance studio in a different part of town. But that is where I consider home, like San Antonio is home. My dad still lives there, and then when I was 13, my mom and stepdad at the time, and my brother and sister and I moved to Chicago, or to the suburbs of Chicago. My mom was an accountant for a big 4 accounting firm, and they basically told her, if you're interested in moving up and getting promoted, you need to live in a bigger city. So she chose Chicago, and we spent one spring break. We went up there and visited a bunch of suburbs, and we ended up landing in Naperville, which is a western suburb of Chicago. So that is where I did the end of middle school, and then all of high school. I went to Neuqua Valley High School in Naperville. And then when it came time to apply for college, I did apply to a lot of schools like in the Midwest, Penn State, Illinois, and Wisconsin. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a Big Ten person. Like that is, I mean, now I'm in the Midwest and that's where I need to go to school. And then my dad somehow, even though I didn't live in Texas anymore, between my dad living in Texas and something to do with child support, I don't know all the details how it worked. My dad managed to figure out that I would qualify for in-state tuition at the University of Texas. And so I applied and got in, and like that was the answer, because the University of Texas in-state tuition is such a value. Like the quality of the education to the cost of the in-state tuition is just, it's unbeatable. So I went back to Texas. I went to the University of Texas in Austin. I lived there for 3.5 years while I was in school. And then I spent the summers in Chicago. That was like the perfect weather setup, by the way, to spend like September through May in Austin, Texas, and then May through September in Chicago. Like it was perfect. So while I was in school, I studied math with a focus in actuarial science to be an actuary, which I'll get to. I know someone asked what an actuary was. And so your summer between junior and senior year of college, you pretty much get an internship. Like that's how the industry works. And it is also common in the industry that when you apply for jobs, you are also kind of almost applying for your full-time job. Like where you intern is like a good chance where you want to end up full-time. And at the time, I thought I wanted to end up back in Chicago. That is where I thought I wanted to live when I graduated, like in the city of Chicago. And all the on-campus interviews were all for the big cities in Texas, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. And I didn't want to go. I didn't want to live in one of those cities. And so, I mean, I did all the on-campus stuff, but it wasn't ideal for me. So I started like Googling online, like other insurance companies, and applying to other insurance companies. Now, some of the big insurance companies only do on-campus recruiting. So like Allstate and Northwestern Mutual, who are both in the Midwest, they were like, sorry, we only do on-campus at schools in the Midwest, like that we're not interviewing you. And then I found New York Life, and they were not like that. They accepted out-of-state candidates. In fact, the intern classes at New York Life were all so diverse in terms of where you came from and what school you went to, which I loved. It was not just like a bunch of Northeast schools. So I spent the summer between junior and senior year interning at New York Life in the actuarial intern program, and I just thought it was gonna be for a summer. I thought, oh, they get like free housing, it's gonna be a great summer, I'm gonna live in New York City, I'm 21, it's just gonna be so much fun, and then I'll have like really good experience on my resume, and I'll get one of those Chicago insurance companies to give me a job. It'll be great. And then I fell in love with the city and the company and the people and the vibe, and they offered me a job, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'm coming back. So that's my location biography. That's a little bit. Now I'm gonna go into a couple of the other questions. So I got, what is an actuary, and are you still an actuary in your current position? If not, why? And then what's your job? All those questions kind of go together. So an actuary, in like easy, quick definitions, the 5-second answer is they use math and statistics to analyze risk. That's like the really basic answer. A lot of them work for insurance companies. They do a lot of pricing of the insurance products. They do a lot of the risk analysis for insurance companies. Actuaries also work for other types of companies, but it is a lot more common in the insurance industry. And that is what I studied for years, and that is what I started my job as. And there are a bunch of tests, and I've taken a lot of the tests. I have not taken all of them, but I've taken a lot of them. And on one hand, I did really like the actuarial work. I loved numbers and I loved analytics, but I also love people, and I'm an extrovert. Like we talked about that, and I love interacting with people, and there wasn't enough of that as an actuary for me. And so I decided to sort of switch jobs, and luckily I work for a huge insurance company, and there are a lot of opportunities. So I switched over more to product management, marketing, communications. It's an interesting combination of things that I do for my job. I support the third-party sales of our insurance products, and we're a really small department within this big company, and so I wear a lot of different hats supporting that team, that sales team. So I don't have a really good definition of my job, unfortunately. It is a lot of different things. I support the sales team, whatever capacity that may mean. Sometimes it is like data analytics and sales analytics, which I enjoy. Some of it is working on a presentation for them to give to a client. Some of it is attending meetings and representing the third-party team and our interests at a meeting for X, Y, or Z. And I do really enjoy it. I like I said, I love the company that I work for. I love the culture of the company and the benefits of the company. And so that's my job. And so I'm not technically an actuary in my current role. Because I still have actuarial credentials, I do get invited to a lot of the actuarial stuff at the company, which is really great, but I'm not technically an actuary. What is my dream job? I do not know the answer to that. Some days I think that I want to be like a professional speaker. Some days I think that I want to travel and be like a insurance sales traveling person. Some days I think that I just want to be a mom. Sometimes I think I want to be a full-time like YouTuber blogger. I don't really know what my dream job is. I feel like I have no idea, and I'm gonna just keep trying different things until I figure it out. Right now I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy with my 9-to-5 job and having that help pay the bills so that my YouTube channel is more passion than it is business. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds? I don't really know what my dream job is. What area do you live at in New York City? So I live in the Upper East Side, which I know sounds really like hoity-toity, like, oh, Gossip Girl. Like, the Upper East Side is a huge neighborhood. I don't live in the Gossip Girl part of it. I had a lot of questions about my rent. Is my rent outrageous? How much do I pay in rent? Etc. I'm not going to share with you my actual rent. I'm not comfortable sharing that. You can go to Google and look at the average rent prices. I'm probably more on the lower end of the Upper East Side 1-bedrooms because I'm not in a high-rise and I'm not in like a fancy renovated building. Does your back ever hurt from carrying all your bags to work? Sometimes. I mean, I try to be smart about what I carry to work, and that is why I prefer a backpack to like a tote bag. But while I do walk a lot, I don't walk like super far. I walk about 5 minutes from my apartment to the subway, and then I walk another 5 minutes from like the subway to the office. And then once I'm on the subway, I will like take it off, and either if I'm sitting, I'll put it on my lap, or if I'm standing, I'll just like hold the strap. How do you get all your food home from Costco? It might be a silly question, but I'm so curious how you manage to get all your groceries home. If it's raining, snowing, would that make you change your grocery shopping plans? The last question, absolutely. I've talked about this in weekly vlogs. If it is raining, unless we are desperate, I will not go grocery shopping that day. And then how I get things home, it depends on what grocery store I'm going to, and I try not to buy that much stuff. And luckily we are just 2 people. I think if I was trying to feed a family, it would be a lot different. We have a Whole Foods and a grocery store called Fairway that are very close to us, and those I can just walk home from. But again, I still at those points try not to get more than 2 bags, maybe 3 if I'm pushing it. Trader Joe's is a lot further, even though I love Trader Joe's. There's a question about that later. That one, I do have to take the bus home. If I'm feeling splurgy, I'll take an Uber home, but otherwise I take the bus. Costco is a different ballgame. So the Costco is not only kind of far, but then obviously I'm getting a ton of heavy stuff. Costco set up this awesome system where they have flat rate car service from Costco to a bunch of places in the city. So from my Costco to my apartment, it's a $10 flat rate car. So I factor that into the Costco budget when I know I'm gonna go shop at Costco, is that $10 plus tip to get home that's part of the cost of going to Costco, but it's still worth it for the amount that I save when I buy things there. So I'll come out of Costco and I will take like 5 minutes outside of Costco to put everything into my portable, my bags, because you know, they don't put things in bags at Costco. And then I push my cart to the line at the car, and then somebody helps me put it into the trunk. And then the person that drives the car helps me carry it from the trunk of the car to my front door. Now, the process from getting it to the front door of my apartment building to my actual apartment, that's like a workout for like 2 days, but it's totally worth it. So it is an effort, and I would love to live somewhere where I could just drive a car to the grocery store, but it's not my current situation. You ever rent a car to go places outside of the city? So the only time I've ever really rented a car to like planned to rent a car, not like because I had to drive to Pittsburgh because my flight got canceled, is when I go to the beach with my family in Delaware. I will rent a car and drive there. Otherwise I try and take a train or a bus if I'm going somewhere that's within driving distance, or I fly a lot. Are you ever afraid in New York City, especially walking alone? I used to be when I first moved here, and I still can be if there are very few people around and it's dark. I know now, like I know where and when I'm comfortable walking, and if I'm not comfortable, I just get in a cab. That's that. But otherwise, like in my neighborhood, I'm comfortable walking from like the subway to my apartment when it's dark out. What's your favorite thing about New York City? What do you love most about living in the city? So I did a whole video about this for my 6-year New York City anniversary. I did the, I think did I do 6 things for 6 years? I think I did 6 things that I love about living in New York City, and it came with a lot of recommendations. So go check that video out. What's your favorite season in New York City and why? That's a hard one. Probably like the holidays. I love New York City at Christmas time. It's just so magical and beautiful. I'm gonna try and incorporate that more into Vlogmas this year because I know that it is just, it's hard to describe like until you see it. Somebody commented, they were talking about Central Park, how often do you come to the park and what do you do here? I don't go to the park as often as I would like or as often as I should given how close to the park that I live. I do try to go there to like walk or jog and enjoy the fresh air. I also have another park the opposite direction from my apartment on the East River that's really beautiful, and sometimes I'll go there to read. I used to go there to study a lot, but that was my old apartment, which was a lot closer to the park. As a person who lives in New York City, have you still done the tourist attractions once or no? This is a great question. A lot of the like historical big tourist attractions that have been around for a long time, I did before I lived here. Like the top of the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, those kinds of things I did before I moved here. Some of the other tourist attractions I end up doing when people come to visit. So people will come to visit and they'll be like, let's go to the 9/11 museum, which at this point I don't join people on anymore. I've been 3 times with 3 different people and I love it. It's a beautiful museum and I highly recommend it, but it is hard. It's just hard to get through. It's emotionally draining, and so 3 times is enough. And now people come to visit and they want to go. I say, you may go, I'll meet you afterwards. So I do a lot of touristy things with other people when they come to visit, and I'm still doing them. Like my parents were here for Thanksgiving and we finally saw the Rockettes Christmas show. I'd never seen the Rockettes Christmas show. So there are still things that I need to do touristy wise in New York City, but I rarely do them by myself. Did you live in your apartment before Sam came along? Technically, yes. So when I met Sam, I actually still lived in my old apartment, which was also still on the Upper East Side, just way closer to the river, further from the subway, so it was less expensive. And then we were dating. We had been dating maybe 6 months when I moved into this apartment. So I lived by myself in this apartment for like 9 months before he officially moved in. But it wasn't my apartment for as long by myself, and because he was still, like he was part of my life when I moved into this apartment, it doesn't feel as weird. If he had moved into like the old apartment, which was like that one after 4.5 years was like really my apartment, it would have been probably a little bit different. But this one, it still felt like he was a part of picking out this apartment. He came to look at it with me when I was like looking at it, you know, kind of thing. If you move in NYC, what's the one thing your apartment doesn't have that you would look for? All right, the first thing I want to say is I have no intentions of moving again in New York City. It is expensive and difficult, and I don't want to do it. I love our apartment. I will tell you the one thing I would look for in a new apartment, and it's just probably financially not an option. So I don't want to move again in New York City, and I don't want to move until we're leaving New York. The one thing I would love to have and I would look for if we could find a way to fit into our budget is to have a small second bedroom. And when I say small, there are 2 bedrooms in New York where the second bedroom is like not even really big enough for a bed, and it's really common for people to have that as an office. And I would love for us to have a separate room office with a door that whether he has a phone call or I need to film or whatever it is, we could have that separate room. How long have you lived there, and how long do you and Sam plan on staying? So I've lived here about 6.5 years. I moved here in January of 2013. Sam has been here about 4 and change. He moved here in the spring of 2015. We'll probably stay here another couple of years. I'm ready to go. I love New York, but I'm ready to move on to the next phase. Sam is still building his financial planning business. He would love to stay even longer, but so our compromise is another couple of years. And then the last question in this category was about Sam, and it was, when and where do you and Sam want to get married? Do you think the question will be soon? And do you and Sam want kids? I don't know when the question's gonna be. That is now unfortunately out of my control. We probably will get married in Austin, is what we've talked about. He's from Houston, I'm from San Antonio. It's kind of in the middle, kind of between the two, and it's where we both went to college, and it has a special place for both of us, even though we didn't actually meet there. And then we have a lot of friends across the rest of the country and even across the world that if we are asking them to travel, we love Austin and we would be totally excited to ask them to spend a weekend there. Okay, the next bunch of questions is about Jenny Craig, and I need to caveat this with I have not been good about staying on Jenny Craig recently. I have been going off the rails. I have been slipping back into old habits, and I have not been as consistent. So my recent lack of weight loss is not a Jenny Craig problem, it's a Laken problem, so just keep that in mind. So why did you choose Jenny Craig over the others? Mostly it was because a friend was doing it and I trusted her. We did a video together talking all about Jenny Craig. I'll link that if you're interested. It was our my January favorites video that I included her in. What type of meals does Jenny have? You can actually go on their website and see everything. They have everything from burgers to pasta to meatloaf to all kinds of things, and it's all very good. Like, there are very few dishes that I really dislike. It's just a commitment issue for me. Do you track your calories to keep them within a certain number? I do. I use MyFitnessPal and I try to stay under 1,500 calories even within Jenny Craig, because you add in different dairy and fruits and vegetable servings, and so I do try to track it to stay under. Again, I haven't been as good about it recently, but when I'm on my A game, I do. And then what are your favorite things to buy from Trader Joe's? I put this under this category because then somebody added like on Jenny and off Jenny, it's gonna be different. So my favorite things to buy at Trader Joe's, or what I do buy at Trader Joe's for when I'm doing Jenny Craig, is the yogurt. I love the Trader Joe's brand flavored Greek yogurts, specifically the mango and the strawberries is my favorite. I love the carrot noodles. I've talked about those. I love the cauliflower gnocchi, although my Trader Joe's doesn't have it as often. I love the mashed cauliflower, and then I love this 4 green frozen. It's like 4 green vegetables that's frozen and it's got some sort of spices on it. It's delicious for vegetables. And then when I'm not on Jenny Craig, I mean, I love Trader Joe's treats. I love their cookies and I love their ice cream that has the cookies in it. I love their cheese. Oh, what is the name of that one cheese that I freaking love from Trader Joe's? And when I buy it, Sam and I like fight over it. It's the most delicious cheese ever. Okay, couple questions about my hair. So since you mentioned dyeing your hair, what is your natural hair color? It's just brown, natural brown. Why you decided to dye your hair that color? Do you feel like more of a redhead? So I'll tell you a little bit of that backstory. So when I was in high school, my mom sort of mentioned that she felt like I needed highlights, some sort of like highlights or lowlights or something in my hair. So she took me to the salon and I started getting like red auburn highlights / lowlights in my brown hair. And you know, when you get highlights multiple times of the same color, it sort of starts to become all of your hair. And I'd gotten that red so many times that my hair was sort of having like an auburn feel to it, and I loved it. I loved the way that it looked, and I wanted to be a redhead. I wanted something unique, and I wanted to stand out probably. So we were getting close to where I was gonna go back and get another set of highlights or lowlights, and I told my mom, I was like, you know, I really kind of wanna ask and just do like all one color. I kind of just wanna do it all red. And she was like, well, if you're gonna do all one color, we don't need to pay the salon to do that. That can be done at home. We can go get a box from the drugstore. And I was like, oh, really? She was like, yeah, let's go. So she takes me to Walgreens and I'm like browsing the hair color aisle, and I pick out a box, and I was like, I really like her hair color. Like, let's do this one. And my mom was like, all right. She was like letting me free will to pick. I was like 16, almost 17. So we went home and dyed my hair, and I absolutely loved it. And I've been using the exact same hair dye ever since. And then the last question was, what exact color do you dye your hair? And it is L'Oreal Paris Faria number 41. I can barely find it in stores anymore here in New York. I have to order it online from Ulta or Amazon, but it's the best. Okay, last category is random. I'm gonna try and get through these really quickly because A, I have to go to work, and B, this video is getting super long. Do you recycle? Yes, I do. Go to order at a bar. If I'm just getting a Wells drink, it's a whiskey ginger ale. I love a good cocktail though, so I will typically look at their cocktail menu and order something from there. Anything whiskey, tequila, or vodka. Would you ever get a dog or a friend for Charlie? Absolutely. Charlie needs a friend. I really want a friend for her. I just can't handle another animal in this size apartment. I can't handle another cat because I just can't do a litter box with 2 cats right now. And we're not getting a dog because we just don't have the lifestyle for a dog right now. With Sam's work schedule and my travel, it wouldn't be realistic. So that's a post New York thing, whether it's another cat or a dog or both. TBD. Other than Harry Potter, what is your favorite fiction or nonfiction book that you've read more than one time and can't part with? I don't have one. I don't have an answer for that. There is nothing in my house right now that a fiction or a nonfiction. There's no book in here that I've read more than once besides Harry Potter in my apartment right now. There really isn't that many books that I've read more than once in my whole life besides Harry Potter. Speaking of Tony's, what is your favorite Broadway show and why? And somebody else asked your favorite Broadway show that you've seen. So I do feel like those are 2 different questions. By the way, my favorite Broadway show that I've seen and then my favorite Broadway show that I may have not seen. Those are, in my opinion, different. My favorite Broadway show that I've seen is probably Hamilton. I mean, I love Hamilton. Another one of my favorite Broadway shows is 42nd Street. I'm a tapper at heart and I love 42nd Street. I love Les Mis. I love to listen to Les Mis. I loved to watch Les Mis. And then I do have a couple favorite musicals that I do love to listen to that I've never seen on Broadway because they closed before I got here and they haven't revived it yet. So Legally Blonde is one of those. Rent is one of those. I love like all the Disney. I love Lion King on Broadway is beautiful. I love that you support Pride. Is there a particular reason? I'm assuming that you're straight because you date Sam. Is that true? I am straight. That's why I date Sam. But I support Pride because I believe that everybody has the right to love who they want to love and be with who they want to be with. And being in theater in high school and Sam working in the entertainment industry, we have a lot of friends who lean a lot of different ways, and I support it because I think it's important that they have the same rights to love and be with who they want to be with as I do. I don't mean to get emotional over that, but like it's very important to me. So that's why I support Pride. I do a Rainbow Week every year for Pride. We go to the Pride Parade every year in New York. I marched in it one year. It was not as fun as attending it. I will probably never do that again. What are your must-haves to include in a bag or backpack you take on the plane? How much planning do you do for a trip? How do you balance spontaneity and other plans? It is hard to balance between planning for a trip and enjoying spontaneity. I am not a big spontaneous person. I'm sure you can relate maybe. I'm trying to get better, especially because Sam likes to be spontaneous. And so I think it depends on the trip. I think it depends on, have I been there before? Have I not been there before? Am I going with somebody who is from there or lives around there? Or am I just going on my own? Am I going with a big group? That needs more plans than if I'm just going by myself or just the two of us. And am I going somewhere really, is it domestic or international is a big part of it too, because domestic, it's a lot easier for you to like pull up Open Table and find a reservation for that night if you can't stumble upon a restaurant, versus internationally, it's just a lot harder. I also haven't traveled that much internationally, to be honest with you, so I'm probably not a good person to ask on that. I have a video with Sam Kerr on international travel, but I do like to have big things planned out because it is less stressful for me, because that's the kind of person that I am, and vacation is about not being as stressed. So that is why I like to plan things on vacation. I like to also try and plan things that can be canceled or changed if possible. That way we can have a little bit of spontaneity if needed. And then packing on a plane, honestly, I don't take much different on the plane than I do in my normal day-to-day backpack. I always make sure that I have my little medicine thing filled up in case, you never know, Tums, Advil, Benadryl, like all the medicines just in case. I always have a book on the plane, even though now you can like have electronics while you're taking off as long as they're small and in airplane mode. But I've always just reading a book or a magazine during takeoff and landing when you can't have electronics is just always how I've traveled. So I always have a book or a magazine. I always try and make sure that I have an external battery, because even though having plugs on planes is kind of a newer thing, it's still not a guarantee. As a fellow Texan, how do you feel about the Whataburger buyout? I thought this was such a funny question, and I'm gonna get so much hate for this probably. I don't like Whataburger. I mean, I like the honey butter chicken biscuit, okay? But other than that, I'm not a big Whataburger fan. I'm not obsessed with it like the majority of Texans. I would rather have a taco any day of the week over a Whataburger burger. And so I don't really have any opinions on the buyout. The only thing I'm hoping is that it expands to Chicago, since that's likely where Sam and I will move to. Maybe there'll be a Whataburger there when we get there for Sam. If you could go back in time to your younger self and have a conversation, what would you tell yourself, or what advice would you have? As much as I'd love my answer to be don't date that jerk, because it's not worth it, I would say the biggest advice that I would give my younger self, and even my current self, is just to not take things personally. That when people say things or do things for you or to you or at you or about you, it's less likely that it's about you and it's more about them. And it says a lot more about them than it does about you. And to just not take anything personally, whether that is in a relationship or a friendship or a family or a coworker or a neighbor, whatever it is, just don't take it personally. And then I saved this question for last, mostly because I still don't know how I want to answer it. But my question is, how does it feel to be planner famous and a voice for the community? Sometimes it does feel like there's a lot of pressure to say the right things or do the right things or accept a product or not accept a product. But at the same time, what I try to remember for me personally is that we're the same. We are just people who love to plan in paper and pens. And like when I bought my first Erin Condren 6 years ago, when I graduated college and moved to New York City, like I was not thinking, oh, I'm gonna buy this planner and then someday I'm gonna review this planner. Like I was thinking, I need to get my life together and I need to organize, and I am a grown-up now and I have grown-up goals and it's time to organize it. And we're all the same. We're all just trying to organize our lives. Our lives are just different, and I just share more of my life with the world. And so I try to remember that, and that I'm sharing my life, the good and the bad, the organized and the disorganized as a way to inspire others to organize their lives. Like, that was why I joined the community to begin with, was I was looking for ideas on how to organize my life. I was looking for ideas to use this tool to make my life better. And I want to be that for somebody. I want to do the same back. I want to share the way that I use things and the products that I love and the tools that I use so that it will help somebody else. And so what I really try to focus on is just being a part of the community, being a member of the community, and not trying to be something different. I just happen to share more than other members of the community. When I was first started, I didn't share anything. I was just absorbing all the information from the other people in the community that were willing to share. And now that I am the person that's willing to share, I'm just a member of the community. And so I try to remember that when I go to events, or when I respond to comments, or when I'm messaging with somebody, like, we're all just planner people. I don't want this to sound so cheesy, like, oh, I'm just one of you. Like, no, I realize that I have a voice and that I have a platform that I can say things and inspire and do things. But at the same time, I want to remember that I'm still just a member of this community, and that we're all in this community together to change and organize our lives. Okay, that was a lot. My coffee is definitely cold, but I hope that answered a lot of your questions. This was so much fun to chat, and again, maybe we'll do another one in the future. I know Jen on Pretty Neat Living, she does it like once a quarter. Well, she'll do Q&As. So maybe the next one, again, we'll do on Instagram. Let me know if you liked this video by giving it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Happy planning. Hello, welcome back. No. Let you answer? I need more of this coffee. It's still hot. This intro is hard. Not question section. Okay, I'm gonna start crying if I don't move on from this topic. Let's take a coffee break. The temperature is perfect. The third-party sales of our insurance projects, nope. So they have awesomely, is that a word? I love to listen to it's less likely that it's about them, and it's that's backwards.